Ward, and then we got we
Congrats
got
on that, Perry.
and we got Nikki on the line, who's living evidence of what we're trying to accomplish in BDPA from the classroom to the boardroom. And then Lorraine, who's one of our pillars, BDPA. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, I've started the recording, so we're going to kick this off. I know Timothy will be joining us shortly, and we'll let him jump into the conversation. But welcome to our final Tech and Career Talk of 2022. We've had some great discussions throughout the year. Many of you have come to most, if not all of them. So glad to have you here as we close out the year. And I always like to take some time to reflect on what's happened over the past year. So I like to end out the year bringing in our leadership and talk about what happened over the course of the year, how it went down, and then try to get us ramped up as we look to the next year, what to expect and how to be prepared for that. So just a quick overview for those who may not be familiar. BDPA, Black Data Processing Associates, established in 1975. Kind of two main purposes here. One is building up the talent pipeline among African American youth and developing their computer programming skills and IT skills in that foundation. Then also being a forum for professionals in the IT industry to continue to develop and further their skills and expand their networks so that we can carry out our mantra of advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So glad to have you with us. As a reminder, the Tech and Career Talks are held second and fourth Friday of each month. We have a range of speakers on various topics. We've talked about brain-machine interaction in the past. We've talked about Google and Amazon Cloud. We talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion and entrepreneurship. So we have a range of topics for different speakers representing different companies and businesses. And we look forward to continuing to keep this going in 2023. We already have a slate of potential speakers that I'll be coordinating with pretty soon. I mean, there may be some opportunities for the different chapters to get engaged and lead some of our conversations. So be on the lookout for more to come as we continue to advance this platform going forward. For those who don't know me, I'm Devin Jenkins, our National Tech and Career Talk leader. I'm a staff technical product manager in supply chain analytics at GE Healthcare, currently living in Mount Holly, North Carolina, right down the road from Charlotte. So looking forward to connecting with the Charlotte chapter here pretty soon. But that being said, welcome in everyone, and we're glad to have our national president with us today, Brother Tim Brown. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How you doing, Devin? I have to
Doing well.
apologize in advance. I am getting over a cold. Even as of yesterday morning, you probably it'd be hard for you to recognize my voice because I was just so congested. So I'm happy to say that this cold or whatever I caught is definitely getting out of my system. But thank you for the welcome, Devin. Appreciate it, man.
No problem at all. So let's jump into it, Tim. No, we're at the end of the year. You already gave us a little about how you are as a person, but just how has the year 2022 been for you, just in general, as Tim?
Oh, as me, I tell you, it's been filled with just tremendous grace, and I've just been very grateful for all the different things that have been going on. I mean, the privilege to serve in this capacity is both challenging and extremely rewarding. And I'm just consider myself very fortunate to have the privilege to work with all the great leaders within BDPA. Looks like Kareem, I don't know if you're trying to say something to us or if I'll just keep on going. And if anybody wants to jump in, feel free to jump in if you have any questions or comments. I tend to prefer to have more of a conversation than a presentation, but to continue on how I'm doing, just really grateful, man, for all the things going on, both in my professional career here at Johnson & Johnson, and again, to have the opportunity to serve on BDPA in this capacity, and also for my children. They're all doing well. I have 3 young adults. I'm going to put a plug in for my daughter. She has a book that will be released in January called Twice as Hard.
Nice.
It's based on the research that she did when she attended Oxford. That relates to the journey of Black women physicians from the Civil War to the 21st century. And she's getting some outstanding reviews for it. And I'm looking forward to it being released. She's getting also some great pre-orders for it as well. And so again, under the theme of being grateful, just all around, I'm just really blessed and fortunate for what God has blessed me with.
Love it, love it. And Tim, if you have a link or you get it by the end of the call, drop it in the chat or send it to me, and I'll drop it in the chat so everyone can go out and support that. So thanks for sharing that with us. A great year, and you kind of alluded to it, but this was your first year as the national president for BDPA. So you pretty much served a full term or pretty close to it at this point. Tell us a little bit more about that experience. What's been some of the learnings for you? What's been the fun, the not so fun parts? Has it been different from your previous engagement? Just talk to us about your first year as president.
So it started out very challenging because we had a number of people that, frankly, they left their leadership roles, and it's because we tend to have really dedicated individuals that give all they can, like literally, they give all they can to ensure that BDPA continues to move forward and can give back to those that we serve. And so, trying to rebuild the leadership team, it took a while for us to fill some of the positions. And frankly, we still have some open positions. So that was very challenging. And by the time we were able to get some of the key positions filled, we had to quickly start to focus in on the conference, right? And so almost every single person on the National Board of Directors and National Executive Committee were part of the conference planning team. Right, so we were all deeply involved, right, in planning the conference, and frankly, that's primarily what we did for most of this year, through the conference. And so it's been I would say it's been a time of rebuilding, a lot of reflection on what we need to do to establish a stronger pipeline of leaders from the chapter level, to the regional level, to the national level, and making sure that BDPA can be sustainable, right, in terms of that leadership pipeline, and to have appropriate succession planning. We should have, so just for example, I ran uncontested. We should have competition, right, for some of our national roles. We should have individuals that are in that pipeline and people that have had various different experiences where we have individuals that want to compete for levels at the, from the local level to the regional and national level. And so to me, the fact that we don't have that competition right now is evidence of work that we need to continue to do and to work on. And so we're in the process of doing that. And obviously with part of that also kind of speaks to continuing to expand and develop the members that we have, right? And not only the number of members, but let me call it the quality of members, right? So continue to have individuals that join the organization that truly are dedicated to the mission of BDPA, right, and driving it forward. Like most organizations, you'll find that you still have, let me call it the top 10, maybe 20% that do, 80 to 90% of the work. But the more quality individuals that we can have within the organization that's dedicated to living into our mission and giving their time, talents, and treasures in order for us to do that, the stronger BDPA will be moving forward. So.
No, thank you for that, Tim, and a great reflection on first year in this role as president, and all that came with that. We're glad to have our VP of Operations join us, Timothy Butts. Timothy, how's it going?
Going well, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. We hear you and we see you.
Super, thank you so much.
So Timothy, we want to extend you the same opportunity just as we're kicking things off. I like to start with the person. So just let us know a little bit about how your 2022 has gone. And then tell us a little bit about your first year in this role as VP of Operations for BDPA.
Thank you. Well, first, I was blessed with the opportunity to come into this organization while in grad school. And because of that full immersion back in the 90s, it was a great benefit to first meet Earl Pace, learn about the organization, dive in, get involved. And that led to a great synergy of what I had learned and accomplished as a member and then a life member, but then in the opportunity of leadership to integrate that in. So that, as you mentioned, this is my first year in this role. And with this year starting with the passing of Earl Pace, it was very difficult, but the leadership team really put our minds together. We were able to really put all filters aside and just put everything on the table as to where we wanted to go and make sure we were committed to making sure we saw a future and what those pathways were for scaling up, scaling out, attracting more members, raising more revenue, and also building more pillars that would sustain our organization. So those are the things I was really focused on. And in partnership with Tim and partnership with the rest of the NBOD, as well as the NEC, we were able to succeed with a lot of that. It's been a struggle because you have a national organization and you also have something where a lot of things are virtual. Some things are coming out of the COVID pandemic, but also you have transition of leadership. Like I mentioned, our founder passed away. Our previous leader in our foundation area had passed away a few years ago. So those are the type of undercurrent, turbulent things that were happening, but we were able to rise above that, still set our sights on what we wanted to accomplish, have a fantastic conference, attract more people, build more energy, build more partnerships and alliances. And from that, I really think we're springboarding forward with a great vision for the future and real alignment with the other people that are tied to our leadership team, but also actively engagement of the members. Knowing that we are building a pipeline of new leaders for the organization makes me extremely excited because through Tim's leadership, we were able to see a vision where we could build a pipeline of people that were doing things, but also leverage that with our strong members who have been here for a long time and sustained us. I see Perry Carter on here, so I'm calling you out. So people like Perry and others really have set the table for, if you need to tap into my brain about how this works, let's do it. And through that, we're able to sustain, build, and have a vision for the future. So how's my first year been? Successful.
Thanks for that, Timothy. A great compliment to the comments Tim shared, reflecting on his first year as president. So a question to both of you as we look at 2022, what would you call out as some of our biggest accomplishments this year for BDPA?
I'll yield to Tim.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy, and I appreciate your comments as well. So, I think that we've had a number of firsts this year that I'm particularly proud of. One is that we had, so we've had this partnership that Devin has referred to with the National Society of Black Engineers, where we're helping to develop future technology entrepreneurs of color. And that culminated in the first ever entrepreneurship pitch competition that we had at the national convention, right? And so I'm proud of the fact that we continue to introduce new ways of living into and expounding upon, the mission that we've had for decades, from the classroom to the boardroom. And I'm particularly proud of the fact that we are seeing that we can do more together with like-minded organizations like NSBE and as we've done with ITSMF, than we can do alone, right? It's very tempting in many ways to, do our own thing because we can control our own thing more, right? We all have different perspectives on how to do things, although we all have similar spirits, if you would, right, on how we want to impact our community. But to have that energy and to really focus on trying to bring ourselves together as Black technology organizations and leaders to make even more of an impact within our community, I think is extremely important. And I'm very proud of the work that you've done, Devin, in leading that on behalf of BDPA in partnership with NSBE, and that culminated in the entrepreneurship pitch competition. Also, I'm very proud of the fact that we are now recognizing very successful entrepreneurs. So last year was our inaugural year of providing the Entrepreneurship Award. We gave it to our past co-founder, Earl Pace Jr., kind of in his honor, if you would, right? And so very happy to have had his nephew, right, that received that on his behalf. But this year, we're going to take that forward, and in his spirit, and part of what he wanted is to continue to recognize those entrepreneurs of note, right, that have made some significant impact and had some very significant success in creating sustainable technology firms. And so really happy about that. I'm going to pass it on to my right-hand man, Timothy Butts, to expound upon another great accomplishment is the progress that we're making with the Cloud Academy and the partnership with Google, because through Timothy's leadership in partnership with Nicholas and some others, I think we're really taking that to the next level. And so Timothy, if you can please share your perspectives on some of that work.
Oh, certainly. Thank you. So the question is, what next and how are we growing on that? So to speak first on the Google and the Cloud Academy, I was really pleased, and I think we were quite blessed with a relationship, a couple of life members of BDPA that work within Google. In fact, even the leader for the region is the head of Google, a past president of BDPA. So through the interaction, the relationships, we've really been able to build in some deep-rooted relationship with Google. And now we have the opportunity to look at foundational change and foundational investment from their organization. Up to this point, they've really blessed us and partnered with us in doing sponsored scholarships that they fund, but they in turn reach out to people that are either in their network that they feel integrate well into our network. So just speaking at high level, at least 15 scholarships they granted to people to come and attend the conference last year led to new people being plugged in, then joining as members, and then experiencing what is BDPA in the various chapters, et cetera. But taking that a step further, we also are able to build out relationships where the cloud group was able to do an on-site training where people were able to get certification on-site at the conference. Also, we're looking at foundational change with specific pillars being built up. The Google Cloud Academy, the BDPA Cloud Academy as it stands now, is going to allow multiple cohorts of people to come in and get educated. So that type of education and funding for that education is going to be something that really helps us to sustain, but also for us to build up our own unique spin on what is being a cloud computer expert, and then engaging other organizations. We've leveraged that relationship through people in our roundtable. We have a BDPA roundtable with other professional minority organizations, and by them coming to the table and then signing off on the agreement, we are now able to cross-collaborate with BIT, with BUILT, with National Black MBA, with NSBE, with Inroads, and through those organizations and more, through collaboration, through sharing, through them saying to the group, here's an initiative we need help on. And then all of us come together and say, we'll make sure we get that to the front of the list, on the front burner. We'll get you a list of people that we recommend to sign up for that scholarship or to apply to that apprenticeship. Through the people that are working, I mentioned apprenticeship, I see Akil's on here. So in looking at the different relationships and different prominent organizations, but also organizations that are foundationally in the community, we've really been able to really sink our tentacles in and out, as well as be deeply rooted in helping others. So thank you, Google. Thank you, Vanguard. Thank you, Inroads. Thank you, NSBE. Thank you, NABA. Thank you. I could go down the list. National Black MBA. Those relationships have been phenomenal because, as Tim said, we are learning and applying the ideology. We are better together. Put the wheels on the bus. So many different euphemisms, right? The flock flies better when you fly as a flock, not as an individual. But I like to say, make the pie bigger. And we're doing all of those things because we're working together, we're collaborating, we're communicating. I've been to a lot of different national conferences for these other organizations that we're partners with, and I've become a life member of some of those organizations through that. And likewise, they've done the same with us. So it's that way of making it bigger and better together that we are both learning from, applying, but we also have a great vision of promise for the future through that.
Yeah, I love that both of you highlighted collaboration in your comments as some of the big wins for the organization this year, because I truly believe that's how we move forward. So yeah, quick shout out to Akil on the line. Vanguard Consulting Group, hosted a good number of our Tech and Career Talks this year.
I
And
want to toss out one more.
Mhm.
I see Team Mindshift is on here. Great platform for advanced and accelerated education. They've really helped us with our professional development mindset and building the professional development pillar that's going to be that additional academy. So I'm just glad to see them here in the house, but also in the community. How we're collaborating speaks volumes.
Absolutely. And shout out to Perry, who works closely with our Air Force partnership, and Anissa Lumpkin. I know they've been at the last, I want to say 2 or 3 conferences doing the HBCU Collider, providing opportunities for HBCU students and alum and small business owners to get contracts with the Air Force, advancing their companies and opportunities within our military. So great collaboration happening this year. And I look forward to seeing how that expands next year, and maybe we can deep dive into that a little bit more. But we have to talk about our first year back in person at BDPA Con in Atlanta. It was a great time, and I think this was the first time since 2019 that we had been able to gather together in person. So what was that experience like? How was it getting back in person at the conference, putting that together, planning it? Talk to us about BDPA Con 22.
So I got to tell you, going to a BDPA conference is like going to a family reunion for me, literally. I look forward to the conferences, great, speakers, great opportunity to develop ourselves technically, great opportunities to network, great opportunities to recognize many people that have given, to our community, either through BDPA or externally. For me personally, though, it's being able to see people that I've come to love and care for over the years that, many times I don't get to see them, any other time, during the year. In fact, I meet with the people at BDPA more than I meet with my biological family members, because our family unions are only once every 2 years. So I have the privilege to be able to stay connected with my BDPA family members, at least once a year. And so for me, it was really great to see everybody in person. I was also very pleased to see that people took our safety seriously. I went to a number of conferences this year, and many people did not wear masks. And unfortunately, one of those conferences, although for some odd reason I tested negative for COVID, I sure had some serious COVID symptoms after that conference. And although I was wearing a mask, many people were not, and as they say, when you're wearing masks, you're really protecting others from whatever germs you can give, not necessarily germs you get from others. And so I was really appreciative of the fact that it was so many people that, wore masks and really wanted to make sure. And when I left the BDPA conference, I was not sick. I think, I know we had a couple of people that did contract COVID while they were there, but it was very minimal people. And fortunately, for those that I know that had COVID, they recovered well. So it was truly a pleasure to get back together with everybody and to have so many different partners there. So it was great to meet Akil for the first time in person. It was great to meet Johanna, the CEO of ITSMF in person, and, just so many other people that I may have talked to over the phone that I didn't really know as well as some of my BDPA family members. And so it was good to, meet with them in person. And then we also started to have a conversation that we will continue with moving forward into 2023 in the spirit of that collaboration. And so we started to have that meeting of the minds, if you would, during the conference, of which we will continue with those conversations. And we've done that, and Timothy can probably expound upon that, in particular with Built and some of the advances that he's led. Excuse me. Excuse me, in that collaboration. And so it was great. It was great. And I'm looking forward to this year.
So since you said you wanted to have this to be collaborative, I'd like to throw something in about the National Convention as a participant. First off, I thought you guys did an excellent job. It was well organized. The speakers were great. The people that you brought in for the career opportunities were awesome. I went around to a lot of the career booths and got to talk with people. And I got to see the students being really engaged with the organization on a number of different levels. I also participated in the Google training, and great kudos for bringing them in. And I know that Timothy did a lot of work in order to make that happen. And from a participant point of view, it ran very smoothly. Everything from the opening ceremonies to the dance and the party afterwards. And I also know that there was some kind of juggling with having to deal with the grown-ups and the students. And I think that watching that play out, I was really amazed at how well the leadership team did in just making it all happen and making everybody have a good time and the conference be very successful. So kudos to you for the national conference. It was really well done.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my take on the national conference, everything that Tim and Robert have said, it echoes true with me as well. And I also really feel confident that the conference committee that was behind the scenes then, but also is there in place now, is doing great things. I see Akil's hand is raised, and I'll yield the floor to him for his comments.
I think only if we can get him to get on video. Otherwise, we shouldn't let him talk.
Oh man, come on, man. It's funny.
I'm just kidding.
I usually am, but
I
no,
know you are. I know you are, Akil. I'm just kidding.
No, I just wanted to echo a few, actually all of the sentiment. But the one thing that I wanted to add was that I was very, very, first of all, it was my first conference, super impressed. I have been singing the praises of BDPA nationally and locally ever since that conference, and even before that, as you guys know. But the one thing that I wanted to speak to that not only echoes what everyone else said, but the fact that the connections that were made at that conference for us at Vanguard Consulting Group have been phenomenal. I mean, Robert was just on. We've connected with Team Mindshift on multiple occasions and have some things brewing there. We had the opportunity to work with Yvette Pegues, who was a disability advocate and speaker, I think, at one of them as well. And so she did a keynote speaking for us at a disability event that we hosted. I mean, so just the connections that we were able to get and kind of start to foster these relationships just from being present at that conference was phenomenal. And we're looking forward to 2023 and working with you all going forward. So thank you very much.
Outstanding. I want to toss in one more caveat. As we move forward through 22 and into 23, the philosophy that we really brought home at the conference and now we're moving forward with is one of acknowledgement that we are constantly building a pipeline of diverse tech talent. And we've been doing it since 1975, right? By doing that, and by all the feedback you're receiving today, and we're talking about today, it's so self-evident to us that things are on the right track, but we have opportunity to ramp it up even more because there is always going to be gaps, but we have to be agile, and we have been, and we have to be astute, we have been, we have to be resolute, and we have been, and we also have to maintain our poise even as things come at us, things change. So in the midst of time of change, I'm so proud of the organization for being resilient, and I'm hopeful to continue to build on that resilience. And as we grow and nurture new leaders coming in, that it's going to just be a benefit to the whole community on an international level.
Thanks for that, Timothy. And I see Perry has his hand raised. So Perry, you have the floor.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Devin. So Timothy and Tim, great input. Robert, thanks so much for your input on the conference, and Akil, thanks so much. I just want to share, and this is, we can segue into maybe what's next. Well, one of the things, one of the takeaways at this year's conference was very historic. Of course, our founder passed away in February, but we were able to get a book published about BDPA, the BDPA story. That was very historic. We are in conversations to try to have documentaries, docuseries, and movies evolve from that, including subsequent publications of the next generation for BDPA stories. And we also were able to have published the Black History edition of BDPA Today, available at the conference. A lot of history that also will dovetail into our future events. So with that being said, I just wanted to, the question on the floor is, what are your visions for our 50th anniversary coming up in 2025? And where do you see BDPA in the next 5 years?
Well, I think I'm going to defer to Timothy because since my term will be ending this year, and we haven't talked about succession planning, but I'm hoping that he will continue on as well. That he may be in one of those leadership roles, if not, the president's role. So Timothy, I'm gonna ask for you to give your thoughts first, and then I'll respond.
Sure, thanks. Well, I certainly know that as the current president, you're not able to run away that quick because we have what's called past president, if not person running for running for a leadership another term too. But all those opportunities are there and they avail themselves. In terms of what I see down the road for BDPA, through the partnerships, it certainly allowed me to see a greater vision for how we can align, expand, and also by engaging other organizations that are out there, are quite visible, but might not necessarily have the same foothold. And certainly they don't have the time out in the marketplace that we do. By leveraging that, by encouraging them and building them up, I think that's a great path towards us expanding. And every time we expand in that fashion, we've gained another city, we've gained new members, we've gained new leadership influx. And that's one of the greatest ways to expand out. I've worked with, as a consultant, a lot of organizations that are very growth-oriented, knowledge-oriented, and I find that marketing and that growth strategy is one that really yields dividends. You have to look at what the value proposition is as to who you're about to engage with, and then see where it all yields together. And then through that, you actually, once again, make the pie bigger. So by using that philosophy, this year alone, I know that by having the roundtable, by joining a couple of the organizations on their board as an advisory member or a full board member, we've been able to pull in new members, get new ideas, put some of our ideas on a rocket ship and get them out there to a larger audience. And that really helped make the pie bigger very quickly. So in short, I would think that would be one of the leverage pieces to grow. But also looking inward, I thought it was a wise thing that Tim, myself, and our NBOD did by having internal SWOT analysis. And one of the things that we yielded from that was acknowledgement that our internal sites organization is imperative. It's one of the gold crowns of our organization. I applaud Nikki, I applaud you guys, I applaud Kareem, and what our sites umbrella does in terms of coordinating all those various academies and the pillars within the organization. Because if you don't know us now, I wanted to tell you, at the chapter level, when a kid gets up, asks their parent, can I go to this class? And then we have a facilitator in place teaching that person about cloud computing, about knowledge-based activities, about how to code, etc. Those pillars, those academies are the lifeblood. So when that person comes in, they become a member, and then we in turn have nurtured a person into our family. Then we in turn have the future base established, but we also have constant cohorts of education. And that's one of the things that really differentiates BDPA from all of our partners, because we are starting from the classroom all the way to the boardroom. And we love to integrate all the other specialty organizations because, hey, there's a big community out there, and in a diverse mindset, we want to engage everyone. But on the flip side, we also have to look at ourselves and say, what are we doing well? And we've been able to do that. And by assessing what we do well, and then by saying, here's truthfully what we know we can put up front, and here's what we need to get better at. Hey, that's how we sustain, that's how we get stronger. And by being honest with ourselves, being honest with our members, that's how we are going to be able to engage, and be able to engage by looking people in the eye and saying, this is who we are. We've been doing it since 1975. Happy to meet you. How can we help you today? And that's what's up.
Yeah, no, Timothy, excellent response to Perry's great question. And Perry, I think I know I've shared this with you before, but I'm going to repeat it. I appreciate the fact that you think big, right? And you continue to challenge us to think bigger, right? To make sure that we keep in mind that we're extraordinary in terms of who we are, and we should be expecting to have a seat at the table with senior executives, with government officials, et cetera. And so I want to first expound upon what Timothy just mentioned about the academy. So we have started to reshape the conversations that we have our corporate sponsors, that I'm expecting we will see more of the fruits of our labor come to our 50th, which is that we, instead of having our corporate sponsors, or I should say, in addition to having our corporate sponsors measure the value proposition of partnering with BDPA through the number of individuals that they recruit at our conferences, we are now shifting that conversation where they are also looking to fund and provide, resources, human resources, to further enhance our academies and to help scale them, right? Which is critical to our mission, to who we are, and to how we differentiate ourselves from any other organization that's out there, with the exception of perhaps NSBE, but of course NSBE focuses more from the engineering side. We focus more from the IT side. And so what I'm expecting, right, is that we will see a growth in the number of people participating in our academies, the type of engagement we have, and internally speaking, full-time staff members, right? That's part of the goal that is focusing on it, because as most people on this call know, BDPA is primarily a volunteer organization, and with that comes limitations, right? Because in order for us to give to others, we must first take care of our families, right, and ourselves, meaning that we need to continue to be successful in our jobs, right? Which means that many times BDPA gets our time after normal business hours, right? And so we need for people to be available during normal business hours and focus on advancing what we're doing. And so some of the conversations that we're having with our corporate sponsors, is really going to help yield those opportunities to have full-time staff members that's really developing our programs. And then that should lead to, more individuals being served through our academies. And obviously that along with that will come more significant funding from various different sources, which, by the way, I'm also hoping that as we further develop our academies, we will find opportunities where we can actually produce income ourselves, right? Because there may be opportunities where we can, through our academies, enable people to actually provide services that can yield more revenue, that can help fund those academies. So, I really want us to change our mindset to the way that, Earl Pace Jr. and David Wimbley had intended, right? Which is for us to truly think of ourselves from an entrepreneur mindset, and all that we do to serve leads to us owning our own, our own, as well as partnering with others, right? And so, that in my mind, that's kind of how I envision BDPA transforming as we move forward, which is still within the intent of the mission that we've had, for decades.
Yeah. Can I piggyback on that?
Yes,
Devin, if that's all right with you? Well, thanks. So I love what you just said, Tim. And in terms of what Perry's question asks us, it's one where I know that our NBOD and other members have already began hitting the ground running. We've engaged and are becoming members of boards within HBCUs. And through those partnerships, we know that even through our roundtable, we have HBCUs and other universities at the table with us, and we're aligning that. I love one of the visions that Perry had, and that is through building out and making sure that people see the alignment, that we can start to say things where we can build and speak into existence, and then make it happen. Through that vision of, why not have the primary HBCU football game be the BDPA Bowl? Because we have the influence, we have the integration, we have the relationships. It's a matter of just organizing and putting the ducks in a row. So we are already having those conversations at good levels. I want to raise them up to great levels where we actually are putting those dots on the I's and crossing the T's, and then saying, here's what we are doing in the first quarter, and here's the foundational piece for that. Also, I love the fact that Another piece, I'm going to attribute it to you as well, Perry. At the regional level, we have a lot of great regional VPs and directors. And in each of those regions, by nurturing the leaders as well as nurturing the events, we are able to then have capstone events either every quarter or at least twice a year, where we are saying, here are the top people in data science from there. And then when we get to the national conference, we can always acknowledge what's happening at the regional level, but then raise our game at the national level. Frankly, I'd love to even see where other organizations are then coming and wanting to participate at those datathons or whatever we have at our conference, because they have similar things going on in their annual events or their regional events. So all the people in the round table, I'm challenging you, come on in, because we're going to be having some great competitions, but also great opportunities to share via seminars. But that's the future, but the future is now. So really putting it all together. And thank you for creating vision and also tactics toward that vision and strategy, Perry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think along those lines, you know, I think it's important to also share that we're developing stronger relationships with universities. And so, you know, to the point that you made, Timothy, about HBCUs, we recently chartered a chapter of Prairie View A&M, right? And so, and then it's our intent to charter, you know, BDPA chapters at Morehouse, Spelman, you know, really focus some of our attention on Atlanta, since that's where we're going to be at, as well as Georgia Tech, you know, and Georgia State. And so, so those are some of our areas of focus in terms of expanding our relationships with universities, bringing them to the table. As we look at our academies, another piece of that, if we think about that total ecosystem, is we're hearing from our corporate sponsors, what are the skill sets that they desire in their future workforce, right? We incorporate that into how we develop and what we focus on within our academies. Then as we continue to establish relationships with universities, then we can have those universities come along and incorporate what we're doing with our academies into their curriculum, right? So that hopefully those students that are part of our BDPA chapters, and even just the students in general at those universities, they are in fact following the type of curriculum that we have in our academies, and they're getting credit for it at their universities. And then they come back into BDPA, they become members, and then they become like Nikki and Kareem and future leaders, not only within BDPA, within corporations, but like Kareem, starting their own business. Yep. Right. And so to me, that ecosystem is something that is very important for us to keep in mind. And what are the elements of that ecosystem that we need to continue to nurture and develop? And that's part of what we need to focus on as we move forward. Indeed. And it's unfortunate. It looks like Kareem dropped and he didn't hear me giving him kudos, but I'll have to get back with him later. So anyway.
Thanks for your comments.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barry.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks a lot for those kudos and everything. And just real quick, even from our region in the Northeast, we're looking at our next big event is going to be in the spring for Earth Day. So as you know, we've been having Earth Day for the last 6 years as a tech summit. So as we expand and support BDPA's vision, we definitely are going to be including a lot of individuals and professionals from industry on climate security, climate resilience, and many of the Earth Services organizations in federal, state, local governments. So that's really good. And what Tim alluded to, we also, again, looking at with respect to BDPA Con, since we're in Atlanta and we're at the beginning of the school, having a classic either at the front end or the back end of that entire week. And the vision was to actually scale BDPA Con to the levels of something like CES, which is coming up in about 2 weeks in Las Vegas. Yep. So yeah, it's nothing stopping us from having all the hotels filled up in Atlanta, all the stadiums full, and major events like the Classic. So I definitely look forward to that in the next 5-10 years.
Absolutely. Go let somebody back in. So I want to open up the floor in case anyone else has any open thoughts or comments. Have just shy of 10 minutes left, so I just want to make sure all hearts and minds are clear.
If they don't, I could talk all day.
Well, one thing I will ask, what can you tell us about next year's conference?
Timothy, I'll start and then I'll ask for you to continue on if that's okay.
Sure.
All right, so the conference theme is Future Now, right? And that theme is basically saying that the the technologies that we anticipate in the future, we want to accelerate people learning those technologies now and really putting ourselves in a position where we will be, the highly sought after technologists that corporations and clients such as Timothy and his business. Want to give a shout out to Timothy and the business that he's established for a number of years. That we want to make sure that our members, can become better prepared for those future technologies now, right? And so it will be our intent to have individuals that have some leading edge knowledge of those future technologies that will be presenters at the conference to help develop people and move them forward, to be prepared for for those technologies. The conference will again be in Atlanta. I'm trying to quickly get to the date. I think it's August 17th through the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. And so we look forward to seeing you all in person at the conference. And I think that's the gist right now. But Timothy, please add anything I may have missed.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no worries. So as you already mentioned, the dates, the site for people to start registering is going to go live within the next week. So when it goes live, please jump in on the early bird, register, join in, and we'll be able to tell you, here's what's next. So that's what we're going to be putting all the fresh information out there. Phenomenal steering committee that's within the conference planning right now. And through that, it's been great to go through the process of planning it, building those relationships, leveraging the relationships we had over the last year. So you said, what's coming up in 23? What's coming up at the next conference? Like Tim already said, we're going to be in Atlanta again, and we're really wanting to leverage that location. That way people know it's not going to be unfamiliar as to what city we're in. And we're finding that by being in the same city for a couple of times in a row, we're able to build more local relationships and then leverage those. And frankly, as a business person, I know relationships are at the cornerstone of how you build your business. So by us being able to have that identity, having our shingle there, community, as well as regional, as well as national entities are becoming more and more familiar with what we do, what our relationships are with them. And it's so important to have a foundation built that's solid, and instead of like on sinking sand, but ours is solid. And we can now say, here's where we are, here's where we're going for the next year. And we're really leveraging Atlanta and all the corporations there and the relationships that are founded from there and then branch out from there to be a big part of our future.
Thank you for that. And I just want to take a moment personally to say thank you to both of you for your leadership and all you've done throughout this year. Our first year coming back together in person, our first year under the new leadership that we have. I know there's a lot of challenges that comes along with that, but I think you've both been resilient and persevered through it all and kept us on track for a successful year. So I'm excited for what's to come looking into 2023. I know I've personally been involved in some of the relationships that have formed this year. Was able to experience a BitCon down in Orlando, where Timothy sat on a panel with the CEO of NSBE and another organization that I'm blanking on right now. But I know there was a great conversation had there that put BDPA on the stage as a thought leader and at the forefront of Black tech for the world to see. So that was phenomenal. Akil in our partnership with Vanguard and Air Force with Perry and Anissa and many others going on to work with NSBE around entrepreneurship. There's just been a lot of great relationships and collaborations that happened and formed this year that I expect to see grow exponentially as we go forward and take us to the next level. So thank you for that. I want to drop a reminder to everyone. So I actually just purchased my copy of Jasmine's book. So go out, click the link in the chat. Tim's daughter, Jasmine, is releasing her book in January. And we definitely want to support her from BDPA and what she's doing. So I just purchased my copy. So I can't promise I'm gonna read it, Tim, but I bought it and I'm gonna tell other people to buy it. I tell people that all the time, I might not read the book, but I'm gonna buy it.
Well, thank you very much for supporting her. And just keep in mind, it's actually going to be released in January. So thank you very, very, very much for the pre-order. And you will get your book in January for sure.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the cover. I love my daughters being able to see things like that with Black women, doing things things that it's not always talked about. So go support the book, Tim's Daughter. Also, just dropped the link for our Tech and Career Talks website. So you can go out here while you're enjoying some time at home. You want to hear some of the content from throughout the year. Go to this page, and our Tech Talks from throughout the year are on that website. They're also on our YouTube channel. National BDPA is the name of our channel. So go out there, subscribe, check out the Tech and Career Talks. The recording from this will be out there as well momentarily, and more to come. So thank you all for a great year. Timothy, Tim, any last comments before we close?
I just wanted to say thank you, Devin. Such an outstanding job leading this, and your dedication is just very, I can't say thank you enough. I just really appreciate your leadership, your dedication to BDPA, for you making this platform what it has become. I'm just so appreciative for you, and the leaders on the call know how much I appreciate them, and just all the things that they do to uplift our community through BDPA. So just wanted to make sure that I took a moment to say thank you, and particularly to you, Devin, for this platform, and then obviously also for our BDPA leaders, and happy holidays to everybody. But Timothy, you want to close us out?
Sure thing. First of all, I thank God for the opportunity to work with all of you, and definitely the leadership demonstrated by all of you in so many different ways. You may not even be aware of how you're influencing other people, but I am thankful that we have this platform, that we capture it and have it archived. That way people can access it. We have an easy access, both visual as well as audio. I think back to the days when I was the MC for the BDPA in the evening when we had our podcast. So all that archiving is out there, but it was all audio. Now we're at visual, we're at engagement, etc. Another level. So those are the types of things that we are able to build upon. And I applaud all the people on this call, as well as all of you who are going to listen to this message in the future. And that is, you're part of the future. Look at what the mission statement is of BDPA. The fact that you even listened to this entire recording all the way through, or the fact that you even stayed online with us the whole way through, that means you're engaged, you're really involved. What message are you going to take from here? What's your elevator speech about what we talked about today as you share it with someone else and encourage them to come and check it out? I love this organization, love putting back in, and I love what Oral Pace allowed me to do when I became a member, then a life member, etc. But I also want to see more people continue to grow with it and come in as students and go from the classroom to the boardroom and allow BDPA to help be the wind beneath your wings as you achieve the heights in your career.
Well, on that note, happy holidays, happy new year. We'll see you in the new year as we keep this going. Stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you next time.
All
Thank
right.
you.
See y'all later.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays. Happy